Investors, welcome back to Green Money Momentum, where we talk about market movements, making money, and money momentum. I'm your host, Trevor, and we are here today to talk about everything we could expect to see this upcoming week within the markets. And this also happens to be the first week of December. So I see many online very optimistic, hoping that we see the Santa Claus rally this December. And I do believe we will see that, as the macros look very positive right now. And as I have been saying, I have been buying the dip. So first, when we look at technical analysis, when we look at both of the major indexes. And again, as always, this is never financial advice, just my opinion and some nice entertainment. But when we do look at the major indexes, both of those major indexes, as well as many stocks, were hit in the month of November. We did see this downtrend forming with some lower highs, but this last week in November, we have bucked out of that downtrend, at least in the short term. At one point, we got under the 50-day moving average. With the rally, we did push right above it, and we did break higher than the last lower high. And we have started to recover on the relative strength index, and then it does appear that we may be seeing a bullish cross here this week. So things are looking very bullish when it comes to terms of technical analysis. We also saw some recovery on the fear and greed index. At one point in November, we saw our lowest level since Liberation Day. So we were all the way down to a reading of 6. And so a lot of capitulation within the markets. But as we have been talking about, this was a liquidity issue with the banks, and they did provide $29 billion worth of liquidity. We also had the Federal Reserve cut in September and October. And in the last meeting, they did talk about ending the reduction of asset purchases on December 1st. So once again, the Federal Reserve will be purchasing the bonds, and I do believe that we are going to a much larger cycle of quantitative easing. When we do look at the economic calendar for Monday, we do have a Fed Chair Jerome Powell speaking in the after hours, so late in the day at 8 p.m. Now, I do believe this is going to be a pre-recorded message from the federal chairman, as it is coming so late in the day. And this also correlates with the Federal Reserve's decision to start purchasing the bonds once again. So this is on December 1st, very important. And I do believe that Jerome Powell is just going to talk about the end of the reduction of asset purchases on the 1st, because we are also in this Fed blackout period, and they can't say anything with economic policy or give any hints for the FOMC meeting, which is coming on the 10th. So the Fed can't say anything necessarily when it comes to what they will do with the rate cut, but I do believe that when Jerome Powell does speak on Monday, this could be a positive for the projection on whether or not the Fed will cut. Right now, there is an 87% projection that they do ease at this meeting in 9 days, and I do believe they will do so because, again, they have already shown their hands by cutting in September, October, by providing liquidity for the banks and what they are going to do on the 1st. But of course, the Federal Reserve is data dependent, so it is also important to know that we do have PCE numbers on September on Friday. These are the delayed numbers, but the Fed's preferred measurement for inflation is the CPI. So something to watch on the economic calendar, but I do personally believe that we will get through this moment here and it won't be too bad. I don't believe we will see a shockwave. Same as the initial jobless claims on Thursday. So we do have some important pieces of data right here, but the markets are so infatuated, so heavily focused on the Federal Reserve right now and what they will do. And when we look at the bigger picture, it does look like we are going to go into this larger cycle of quantitative easing. So I do expect a very bullish week this week within the markets. Also, when we look at the economic calendar, not really too big of players reporting. We've went through most of of the tech earnings. We do just have some retailers this week. So we have Dollar Tree, we have Macy's, Five Below, we have Dollar General, we have Ulta, but I don't expect for any of these earnings to really shake up the markets too much. And again, the markets really are watching what the Federal Reserve is doing, which again, they are ending that reduction of asset purchases on the 1st, which really does to me signal that we are going to go into this much larger cycle of QE. And then the really important date to watch this month is going to be on the 10th. And there are so many stocks right now that have recently been shot and in my opinion present tremendous buying opportunities. So right now I have RR on screen, Rich Tech Robotics. As we could see with this play, we have fallen all the way to the 200-day moving average. We are very low on the RSI, and also it does appear with this play, we may be seeing a bullish cross on the MACD. We also have a Robinhood, which also fell significantly, getting close to the 200-day moving average, but did bounce before it got to that level, but very low on the relative strength index at the lowest spot we have been on all year long with the MACD, and it does appear that we will be seeing a bullish cross there. We also have HIMS here, which looks tremendous when it comes to technical analysis. Very low on all the indicators with a bullish cross also appearing to form. So with the markets, as I always say, when there's blood in the streets, when there's a lot of fear, this is when I personally want to pick up onto these great buying opportunities. And with everything the Federal Reserve is doing, I do expect a bullish finish to the year. And I am thinking that we will get that Santa Claus rally. But I would be curious to hear what everyone else thinks in the comments section below. So please drop a comment. Please let me know what you think going into this week into the markets. And also please let me know if there are any individual stocks that you are currently invested or interested in. And if you didn't catch my video yesterday, I did the top 3 stocks for the month of December, and I went into a lot of depth on the plays that I talked about. So go check out that video if you haven't already done so. As always, I thank you all so much for being here, and I will see you in tomorrow's daily talk of stock.